we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh, man.
On Friday night. Let's go back to Friday night, man.
Yeah.
Just what was your immediate reaction? I imagine it was like a lot of us when you got the news Friday night.
Yeah. Immediate reaction, I thought, was captured perfectly by Kai on the Brother from Another text chain when it was like expletive. RBG died. And I think we all felt that way, because she was the perfect person for a time such as this. Some people can't handle power, or some people, when they reach a position, it's all about the achievement. It's about what they did. But what I really love about her and her career consistently at every step, it was, hey, I'm doing this. I'm doing it because it's my passion. I'm doing it because I need to educate people. But beyond educating, we need to do some legislating. And so that was her mission the entire way. And I'll tell you the inspiration. There are so many layers of inspiration with Brooklyn's finest, RBG. And that is, one, don't ever get young people, don't ever get upset if you're not the first choice for the job. She was not the first. She was not Bill Clinton's first choice for the Supreme Court back in 1993. She was the third choice. Why was she the third choice? He had two men in mind, and there was some pressure from her husband to give her a shot. So he had like a campaign. Hey, listen, look at what my wife has done, because he knew how brilliant she was, and he had to fight just so she could get an audience. That's one. And the other thing I really love about her is that she went there and was always willing to say, look, these are the laws, and I'm going to show you without beating you over the head. I'm going to show you with my superior intellect why this is unjust, why it's sexist, and why you need to change it. 6 times. I love it. Yeah. Love her record. 6 times before she was on the court.
5-1, right? Yeah.
5-1. Sounds like somebody else to have in mind. That sounds like Thurgood Marshall. So these are special people. Wow. And I'm glad that we have the inspiration, we have the example of RBG to just to use as something. Man, we all need something to hang on to. We need some hope. And she
and strategically, a lot of people have said she approached the battle for sex equality in much the same way that Thurgood Marshall strategically and legally, and ultimately legislatively approached the battle for racial equality. You said a lot there. A couple of things. Just in terms of her strategy, man, very calculated. Took a lot of cases with men as the plaintiffs in order to establish precedent as it relates to sex equality by arguing on behalf of men. When their cases challenge the sex and gender standard of the day. What's also fascinating about her is that she didn't. How a lot of people just have activism flowing through their veins, and they grow up, questioning and challenging the status quo. She wasn't like that. I mean, she adhered to, the standards of her time early on. It wasn't until later in her life and her career, when she got with the ACLU, that she really started to question and challenge. And even later, when she found her voice as a voice of dissent on the high court. And she became this pop culture icon, notorious RBG, well into her 80s. So the inspiration there, for me at least, is like, you could think like, oh, what have I done with my life? When you still got, you may have a long way to go, and it may be, something later in life for you to accomplish that you don't even realize. And even to your point about her not being Clinton's first choice, there were a lot of women who weren't so sure that she was really all in on that movement, because she questioned the strategy behind Roe v. Wade, not the substance of it, but the strategy behind Roe v. Wade. And so, it just a life well lived. And the sad part about it, her last wish, was that, her seat not be filled until a new president is elected. the sad part about it, and I asked you about your reaction, is that everybody, we couldn't mourn her properly. I mean, everybody tried to do two things over the weekend: recognize her, appreciate her, celebrate her. If you didn't know a lot about her, educate her. By the same token, it's like, you know what I mean? It was like really, like on top of all the other stuff we got going on, because you know they're going to try to ram one last, well, you know, hopefully last, but one last justice, really tilt the balance of power in the high court before this election. And if Trump were to succeed, first of all, the average confirmation time has been 70 days since 1975. If in fact he shows some modicum of decency and waits until her services to announce his selection on Friday, that'd be 39 days until the election. But if he succeeds and McConnell avoids having, you know, another 2 or 3 Republicans flip on him, and McConnell's able to actually, you know, keep that majority when it comes to confirmation, Trump will be the first president, I believe, since Reagan to confirm 3 judges on the Supreme Court, which obviously has generational ramifications. On the bright side, hopefully what this does, we talked last week about, and I think you asked, why has it got to be so complicated when it comes to, you know, voters choosing Joe Biden? You know, seems to be the obvious choice for most reasonable people. Maybe this is the thing, because a lot of Republicans, their deal with the devil, or their deal with the devil incarnate, was just judges and justices. They wanted the courts, and he's done his job. By that term, it has been a successful term for Donald Trump. Maybe this is the thing that galvanizes Democratic voters, because the question, and our boy Jason Johnson wrote this on the Griot, the question is, and I've said this before, the question is not whether people are going to vote for Donald Trump or Joe Biden. It's whether you're going to vote or not, as strange as that sounds. Maybe this is the thing that galvanizes voters, in particular young voters, who may otherwise not be too enthused about the Democratic ticket for whatever reason. Maybe this is the thing that gets people out into the polls.
I'll tell you, no matter, and I keep finding myself saying this, but I believe it. No matter where you stand politically, you cannot look at this life well lived of RBG. You cannot look at this courageous life, this life of, I'm going to dissent, and I'm going to tell you why, and it's going to make sense, it's going to be smart, and it's going to move you to action. So that's who she was. So you can't look at this life, celebrate it, say how great she was, and then go back to the way you were. I can't, and I'm not in politics. But if you are in politics and you're talking about how great she is, and then you just go to default mode, then I think you've missed the whole thing. You missed the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Look, she was that. One thing you cannot say about her, she was no sellout. Right? She wasn't a sellout. She, sometimes if you were a liberal, she didn't always tell you what you wanted to hear. If you were a conservative, she didn't always tell you what you wanted to hear. Sometimes she could go back and forth. Some of her people that she was close to, some of her colleagues, she was very close with Scalia, who we know was major far right. So it wasn't always this prepackaged thing. You knew what she was going to say. She didn't just go with convenient talking points and cliches. What am I getting at? What I'm saying, I'm going somewhere with this. What I'm saying is, if you're a Republican and you're just going on party lines, you're like, hey, we got to do it because I'm a Republican. I just got to do this. I got to push this thing through. I think you're selling out. You got to do what's best for the country, not what's best for your particular party. What's best for the country is not to rush. Why are you rushing? Why are you rushing? You're rushing because you're trying to get it on, right? You're trying to get it in there before the election.
There you go, being reasonable again. There you go.
Can't help it.
Yeah, you go being reasonable again, man. Like this is McConnell's legacy.
I can't help it.
This is what he's. I think he said this.
He should be ashamed. Think about it.
I mean, think about it. We already saw what happened.
Hey, man. Hey, as Bob Knight once said about a student, okay, we've lost him. Okay, we've lost Mitch McConnell. I ain't talking about him because he is just like he has allowed himself, like a lot of people, like a lot of people.
Mitch, all of them know. All of them. Right. Lindsey Graham, all of them. Ted Cruz, all of them. It's like, hey, there's no way. Like, you know, we're gonna hold this seat for the next president when Barack Obama, nominates Merrick Garland. But hey, and not even a day later, like she had just passed away. They instantly didn't even take the time to think about it. We're pushing this through. We should confirm. We should confirm somebody before this election. So
they did the same thing, but it was the same.
They've shown themselves over and over who they really are.
It was the same. It was the same thing with Scalia, just the opposite. But when Scalia, Scalia dies, and they're like, wait a minute. Well, this president should not be making any decisions. Like I remember McConnell, like Scalia hadn't been dead for 24 hours. And there's this statement coming out about, hey, slow down. This is not the time for nominations. Then, same thing. Friday night, we see this statement from McConnell going back to since the 1880s, no opposite party has done this. That's what I'm saying. It's not about parties. Not about parties. It's about your conscience. If you don't have a conscience,
I wish you were right.
You gotta live with it.
I don't know.
You gotta live with it.
Partisan.